Good morning everyone, my name is Crystal and welcome to my YouTube channel. It's Wednesday morning, good morning. It's fairly warm and well, it's an October morning, so it's a bit dull outside, but it's fairly mild for this time of year. So guys, good morning. I've just made myself a cup of coffee and I'm going to start my day. Alexa, good morning.
Good morning, and a very warm birthday to the electric blanket. It first went on sale in America on this day in 1946. Perhaps it would have come to market sooner, but everyone involved got cold feet.
Alexa, what's the time, please?
Good morning, Crystal. It's 8:34 a.m.
Alexa, what's the date today?
It's Wednesday, the 9th of October.
Alexa, what's the weather outlook?
Currently, in Rochester it's 12 degrees Celsius with mostly sunny skies. Today, you can expect lots of clouds, with a high of 17 degrees and a low of 9 degrees.
Alexa, can you tell me a joke?
I could make a joke about Michelangelo's work in the Sistine Chapel, but it might go over your head.
And Alexa, whose birthday is it today? Alexa, whose birthday is it today?
Today's famous birthdays include Mexican film director Guillermo del Toro, former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom David Cameron, Indian actress Shruti Murate, American model Bella Hadid, and American actor Tony Shalhoub.
Alexa, how old is David Cameron?
David Cameron is 58 years old.
And for anybody that doesn't know who David Cameron is, he was a British Prime Minister. So, good morning everybody. I'm here in my flat in Rochester and I just keep myself to myself, and I'm just gonna do what I usually do in the morning, which is obviously make myself a cup of coffee, have some breakfast, feed my cat and dog, and just tidy up a bit and get on with my life if I possibly can. It is a noisy place round here. Obviously I lost my children to a messy divorce in 2008, and I haven't seen one of my children for about 14 years now. So they put me in a lovely place where it's not other people's fault, but children are noisy, aren't they? They're noisy. They're noisy. And it used to remind me of being with my children when I was younger, a lot younger, when I was about 34, so over 20 years ago now. So now I just want somewhere a bit more quieter and a bit more less people in it, so that I can just get on with the rest of my life in peace. My dad was perpetually made cross and angry right up to the age that he died. Making fun of my father, losing my temper with my mother, right up to the age he was 75 years old. So, last night, I didn't know it was going to come down with torrential rain. I don't think anybody did. I mean, the weather's so unpredictable here in Great Britain at the moment. Very unpredictable. I mean, the sun is out in October and it was warm last night. Alexa, what is the humidity?
Currently, the humidity is 95%.
So it's 95% humidity in October. In some circumstances it's been hotter, than it was in, I feel like, May and June. It's really, really odd weather that we're having, and I don't think it's natural. So I went out last night with the intention of going on the field with the torch and having a walk around the field, but it didn't work out like that because I didn't feel very well yesterday evening. I don't know whether I'd eaten something bad. I just had a bad tummy. So I went out of the flats and I walked up towards the field, and there was a couple of lads on a bench, and I thought, I don't feel like going round that field. I don't feel like it. And it's a good job I didn't. I did see someone walking up the path on the field with a torch like myself the day before yesterday. So I walked around where, just around the block, and there was a loud noise coming from the VT building. There was a lorry parked outside, and there was a hell of a load of noise right opposite the river. And then I started walking down the path, and as I got halfway down the path, it started to tip with rain, and I mean really pour down. I didn't have an umbrella, but I had that coat that I'd got from Primark, and it covered me. I got soaked, but the coat had got most of the rain that had brushed off of it, so my top half was dry. It was the thighs and the legs and my feet were soaking, so my feet were all squelching wet, my socks were wet, but I was dry everywhere else. There were other people about, like I said, got caught out in the rain, running back home. I didn't run because you can slip over, God knows what, so I just walked casually home, got into the flats, absolutely rain dripping off me, and I came into my flat, and of course Max had got soaking wet, and I think we've both got a bit of a chill. Because the rain was cold. So I came back home, I hung my coat up so it drip dried, and I thought, right, at home again, and we'll see what's on Netflix. And I found this film that was actually put out on Channel 5. So I went into Channel 5. It was about this bloke that had suffered domestic violence from his wife for over 20 years. 20 years he'd put up with it, and he'd had 3 girls with this woman. 3 young girls. And his wife was actually treating him like dog shit. And he didn't want to do it. He said he didn't want to do it, but when it affects the children, you've got to do something about it. So he started taping his wife inside his house. And it was appalling what she put him through. She was a drunk, an alcoholic. She took a knife out to him. She pooed on him. She hit him in front of the children. He was a mild-mannered, nice man. And it was a woman beating a man, a female. And of course, men don't want to retaliate to a woman. They don't want to hit a woman back, do they? It was appalling. She tried to convince the police that she was the victim. Now people are taking evidence, they are taking videos, and they're proving their case. Now, back in the day, when I myself went through domestic violence, there wasn't that sort of, you know, there wasn't that sort of technology about. And before that, in the 60s and the 70s, when there was domestic violence, you weren't you weren't able to tape the abuse. You weren't able to tape it, right? So he actually taped what she was doing. It was absolutely despicable what she was doing in front of her own children, hitting her husband in front of the kids, calling him names like he's a wimp, he's a pussy, and walloping him. And the kids, of course, girls are different to boys. The girls were just stood there watching this woman hit her husband and swear at him. The language that she was using in front of those children was appalling. And of course, children will join in. They would join in, and the mother was getting the children to be horrible to the father, her husband. Needless to say, he took video evidence of his wife treating him like that. He showed one of his friends. He showed somebody else. They were disgusted. And even the neighbour knew that the wife was something wrong with her. But you can't see behind closed doors, can you? I mean, they might swear outside and God knows what, but you don't know what goes on behind closed doors. And she was just awful, evil. He's put up with that for 20 years. Wallops, beatings, bruises. She hit him with a wine bottle. She disfigured his ear. And eventually the evidence got to the police. And they arrested her, took her into custody. She was trying to make out that she was the innocent victim, but the evidence proved otherwise. He'd actually got a video recording of her swearing at him, and she had a carving knife in her hand. And she was trying to tell the police that it was him doing it to her, and he had evidence otherwise. In the end, he got the children, the 3 girls, and was moved out of the way from his wife, and she went to prison for 4 years for coercive, controlling behaviour. But like I said, he's not lucky in the respect for putting up with that for 20 years. I mean, he said that he thought she was going to kill him. Thought he was going to die. But he's got the help he needed. He's away from her. Let's hope he stays away from her, because they do have a habit of trying to get back to where their partner is and start it again. So back in the day when I was suffering domestic violence, the children learn the behaviour from the violent parent. They learn it and they start hitting you and swearing at you and being abusive towards you, because the coercive, controlling partner hits you, swears at you, tells you you're a useless piece of shit, and then the children are watching that partner hitting and abusing the other partner, and they're learning that behaviour. So you end up with sometimes children hitting you as well as your partner. It was absolutely shocking. But myself, I wish I had taped what had happened to me. I wish I'd taped it. It would have saved a whole load of trouble. Because if it's just your word against theirs, they're going to play the victim. The abuser is going to play the victim and blame you when it's them that have perpetrated the crime. So you need evidence. You need evidence. Otherwise they're going to play the victim. They're going to make out you're the one that is the abuser when it's them. And it's just your word against theirs, and you're not going to get anywhere. I mean, he had to put up with 20 years of being beaten and hit with a wine bottle by a drunken woman. They disfigure you, they do, because a lot of them punch you in places where bruises aren't going to show up, and that's underneath your hair. You might get a lump, but you can't see it, can you? They try and bruise you and hurt you where people aren't going to see the bruises. In the case of my father, who hit my mother for years, he didn't give a shit, because we had police out, and they would see my mum in a shocking state, and they would just walk out, because my dad would play the play the mental health card. My wife's mentally ill, even like she's done it to herself. And I, as a kid, witnessed my father punch my mother in the eye sockets and give her black eyes. I witnessed the police coming out, leaving my mum with a dangerous man, the police leaving, and then my dad walloping my mother after the police had left. And as for neighbours and people, they knew what my dad was doing to my mum. They knew it. But they never said a word. Being away from it now, of course, my ex-husband, he got access to the children. I didn't have anywhere to live. I had 50-50 access, but you know what it's like. You know, like men that fight for justice to see their children. Well, I was like that. My husband gained access to my children, which is highly unusual. And we had 50-50 access, but he played up whenever I wanted to see my children. He sent them out to play with their friends. They were never there when I had phone contact sessions. He was to answer the phone, but they weren't on the other end of the phone. I lost contact with my children. I ended up stranded in Chatham, and I was being sexually abused by my father. So I had to put up with not being able to see my children, and my father was sexually abusing me. Now I'm on my own, and I feel I'm being punished for what other people have done to me. And it's always me. They always blame their problems on me. Everybody. It's your fault. It's your fault. The partners that I've had have stolen from me. They've treated me like shit. Some of them have pushed me about and laughed at me. And when I go into that co-op and the behaviour of the staff in there, it reminds me of how I've been treated, and I don't like it. And you shouldn't be treated like shit and discriminated by shop staff. It's none of their business. You know, my TikTok, my YouTube is my business. When you've got shop staff fiddling around on phones and laughing and serving me with smirks on their face, I know they're young lads. I respect that, but it's not very professional when you're working. There are people that have got cancer. There are people that have got severe problems. And that is horrible to walk into a shop where staff are giggling and laughing like little school children. It's horrible. And how are they getting away with it? I don't know. But in everything that's to do with me, they can treat me how they like, it seems. Oh, I like your top. I like your earrings. Snigger, snigger, snigger. When the state of them, when they're looking at you and you can see the cracks in their face. It's because they're bloody jealous. They're jealous. They probably look like shit and they're jealous. So that is what a bully does, right? They pick on someone that's nice and quiet and doesn't do harm to anybody, and they hurt them because they're not a very nice person. And I do wish them the best of luck in the rest of their life, but then they've got to understand why they're single, because they're coming across as spiteful and nasty. See you later.